Today is May 23rd of 2025. It is a very difficult day for professional wrestling fans, especially as 26 years ago to this day, we lost the Rocket, Owen Hart, who is one of the greatest professional wrestlers, in my opinion. And it's one of the most tragic events to have ever happened in professional wrestling, especially because Owen Hart tragically passed away during the 1999 Over the Edge pay per view. He fell 78 feet into the ring in the middle of the event during his death. And since it is the 26th year anniversary, I thought I would take time out and I wanted to speak a little bit about Owen, bit about his the incident that happened and about his career. Owen Hart, of course, was a part of the Hart family. This was when his father, Stu Hart, who was the owner and the promoter of Stampede Wrestling. The Hart family, like there's so many different members of the Hart family that were in the business. The most common is Bret the Hitman Hart, Bret's brother, Bruce Hart, Jim the Anvil Neidhart was a part of that family. The British Bulldog was a part of it. Tyson Kidd and Natalia, they're also part of the Hart family. But to me, the two that stand out from the bunch is Bret and Owen Hart. Owen used to he began his professional wrestling career at Stampede in 1983. He would wrestle for multiple different promotions, and he would have a great stint in New Japan Pro Wrestling, which I remembered watching those matches back in the day, and they were very fun to watch. And Owen was he was a good high flyer. He was pulling off moves at that time that were not common at that time, and Stampede was where he got the popularity in Canada, and he actually did get an opportunity to work with the World Wrestling Federation, the WWF, in 1988. He wrestled as the Blue Blazer that first time. Not as memorable as his second tenure would be. He was mainly a job guy in that company. The Blue Blazer is a superhero type gimmick that Owen would be under. He had the mask on. He wore blue. He was mainly just used as enhancement talent, and he did wrestle WrestleMania 5 against Mr. Perfect in a losing effort. That was pretty much the peak of his first tenure in the company. He left in 1989, and he wrestled with various promotions. New Japan it comes to mind. He even had a brief stint in World Championship Wrestling as well. And eventually he got the call back to return to the WWE in 1991. And he was a part of the new foundation. This was when Owen and Jim Neidhart were a tag team. Bret was off on his own, and they really didn't have that much for Jim Neidhart to do. So they thought, why not pair Owen Hart with Jim Neidhart and call themselves the new foundation, which didn't really go anywhere. And he was a part of a high energy tag team. This was when him and Coco Beware were a tag team. That also didn't really amount to too much. But his big break really came in professional wrestling when he had that feud with Bret Hart. And when you talk about brother versus brother feuds, everyone would like to point to Matt versus Jeff Hardy, the Usos. There are plenty of different brother versus brother matches, but to me, my favorite brother versus brother feud is Bret versus Owen Hart. And those matches that they would have from the mid 90s were very fun. Everyone would love to say the WrestleMania match between the two was their best, and it was really fun. But I think their steel cage match that they had for the WWE Championship, I believe the event was at SummerSlam. Yeah, it was at SummerSlam. It was the 1994 SummerSlam match. That was one of my favorite steel cage matches. And that feud with Bret really put him to the top of the food chain and got him popular as a heel. It was really, really perfect. And eventually he would have his tag team run with Yokozuna, because Yokozuna was he had so much weight on him they didn't have enough trust in him to do a singles run, so they had him and Owen Hart as a tag team, and they eventually won the tag team championships. And I thought it was really, really smart play there. Eventually, though, Owen and would join his brother and British Bulldog and Brian Pillman, and they would do the Hart Foundation. It's crazy to think about today that from the original Hart Foundation, like I mentioned, Pillman, British Bulldog, Owen Hart, Jim Neidhart, Bret Hart. The only one that's still alive to this day is Bret Hart, and it tears me up. Like, man, like the professional wrestling business has lost a ton of talent, and losing with Bret Hart being the last of that group, it's just sad. And they were a tremendous like faction in 1997. Unfortunately, it didn't last too long because Bret would leave the company after the Survivor Series 1997 pay-per-view, and that was the moment where Owen, would go up to him and say, "Don't worry about that." He wasn't as dedicated to the professional wrestling business as like his brother Bret was, who took things seriously. And in the Dark Side of the Ring episode, it was clear that their philosophies were a little different. And Bret Hart would have multiple reigns as the Intercontinental Champion, which was pretty fun. And with the Montreal Screwjob happening, it was pretty telling that out of all the people that were involved in the Hart Foundation, the only one they kept was Owen Hart. I mean, Bret Hart left the company, Jim Anvil left the company, Pillman, I believe, passed in 97 before the event at Survivor Series happened. Owen and British Bulldog bought his way out of his contract. I think he paid like $150,000 just to buy his way out. So Owen stayed because WWE saw the potential in him, and they didn't want WCW to take him. Problem with that, though, was like they didn't know what to do with Owen Hart during the Attitude Era, because Owen Hart, he is a very devoted family man, and he was very faithful to his wife. And I remembered Vince Russo in one of his interviews. He even says the only person that I know for sure that was dedicated to his wife, that was faithful to his wife, was Owen Hart. And many other people in the business agreed with him. Like, Owen loved his family, and his goal in professional wrestling was to make his money and get out at an early age. And it's just devastating to know with what eventually happened that Oj and Athena, Owen's kids, they were robbed of a father, and Martha lost her husband in that accident that should have never happened, and we'll get to that in a second. But Owen in the Attitude Era, he was my favorite part about Owen. He was in the Nation of Domination. Like, it wasn't the greatest, but I just think his pairing in there was great, and like he was still lost in the shuffle. And with Owen, he declined so many things with the Attitude Era. He didn't want to disrespect his family. He rejected numerous creative ideas, including an affair angle where Deborah McMichael and Owen Hart would have like a pairing. And then him and Jeff Jarrett would have a feud, but that all got thrown out because Owen didn't want to make it look like that he was actually cheating on his wife, which is understandable. I mean, I wouldn't like myself being shown out in that way. So that was a really good move on Owen, in my opinion. And as a result, they decided to put him black as the Blue Blazer gimmick. With how talented Owen was in the ring, going back to the Blue Blazer, even Jim Ross said it feels like they sort of had a bunch of wasted opportunity with Owen Hart, and it's hard not to believe there. And the thing that I like about Owen Hart too, not only because he was a positive person, he was helping out people. There was even a story one time that Owen was leaving his hotel early, and he would give it to a homeless person. And he was a very giving guy. And he was also a very funny prankster. I told this on the Ringside Rant podcast. Uh, there are pranks where that are sometimes cruel in the business, but the two pranks with Owen that stood out to me the most. The first was basically messing with Harley Race's chili. So Owen and the boys, whenever they would go to Kansas City, they would always go to Harley's house because Harley was a big name in the professional wrestling business. He was a legend, and he lived in Kansas City. He would invite the boys over, and he would make this big bowl of chili, and the wrestlers would come to eat it. Well, Owen has a rib is basically a practical joke. He would actually take like a whole thing of hot sauce, and he would like drop it into the into the chili, and all the professional wrestlers would eat the chili, and they would be dying of thirst, like because the chili was messed with. That was not a like Harley Race wasn't happy about that, and he was planning revenge. So when Harley and Owen met again, Harley was like, "Hey, that was a really nice thing. That good job getting me." He basically has like one of those shock things, like those toy shock things that you would use to shock somebody on your hand. And Harley Race shocked Owen Hart as revenge. The lesson learned here is never mess with Harley Race's chili, because if that happens, you're gonna get shocked. And Owen learned that the hard way. The other prank I like always love hearing is this was during the time when Triple H had his hog pen match with one of the Godwin brothers. I don't remember if it was Phineas Godwin, but during the preparation for that show, there were all these pigs that were in the hog pen. And when they got dropped off to the arena, they didn't know where to bring the pigs at. Well, Owen decided, in his usual prankster self, he would bring those pigs into Vince McMahon's office, and they would go all over the place. And when Vince walked in and saw the pigs, he went out of his office in the arena and he yelled, "Owen!" Like, it was like funny pranks like that. He was a legendary prankster, and I would love to one day just go through a list of some of the pranks he's done, but those are the two that stood out to me. Now, with Owen going to the Blue Blazer, like me mentioning Owen Hart, you cannot mention him without mentioning the Over the Edge 1999 pay-per-view. Now, during this pay-per-view, Owen Hart was going to be lowered from the top of the ring. Of course, he was detached with some sort of harness and cable, and the plan was like they were going to spoof Sting. They were going to make fun, point at WCW, and laugh at Sting. And they wanted to use Owen Hart, the Blue Blazer, to be, that sort of laugh, that sort of joking figure. And it's crazy with what they did here. Owen apparently, during the Dark Side of the Ring episode, this was revealed, he never questioned the safety of his stunt because they claimed it was a top rigging company that they worked with multiple different people. Some of the names here that come to mind were the Elton John's, Disney, Rolling Stones. Like, they were a top company. However, the problem was the guy running the stunt, his name was Bobby Talbert. I looked his name up. He basically lied about his experience. He claimed that he was in charge of running Sting's stunts. Turns out he was only an assistant that worked a total of 3 times during his time in WCW. Good background check, WWE. But that's when the details of the fall, which were terrifying. Owen was afraid of heights. He did not want to go through with doing this stunt, but he wanted to make money. He didn't want to get fired and lose out of his contract. He actually, while he was on a lunch break, he got a call from Vince McMahon. This was before the show, where he told him, either you go to the stunt for practice or you're out of a job. So he had to go back to Kemper Arena to do the stunt. Here's something interesting, too, about the stunt. Apparently, while I was doing my research and I'm looking at my notes here, Owen was not himself during that day, and he was walking to the top of the the ceiling. They were rigging him up, and Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross were on commentary. Jimmy Corderas, the referee, he was actually in the ring clearing debris. He was going to officiate the match. It was going to be The Godfather versus Owen Hart that night. And while kicking all the debris, Corderas actually felt a breeze, and he heard Owen screaming because while he was falling 78 feet, which is around, I think, 6 stories, if my calculation serves me right, he falls down barely, like he doesn't hit Corderas, but Corderas feels a breeze, and Owen Hart hits the turnbuckle, and then he falls to the ring. Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, they see the whole thing happen. Jerry Lawler, after seeing it, he immediately rushes into the ring to check what's going on. The doctors are working on him. Apparently, the last words that Owen Hart yelled, because he was falling from the top of the ceiling down, was, "Look out, I don't want to hurt you." Like, it's terrifying to think, like, a man who knows he's done and he's going to fall all the way down to the ring, and he's yelling, "Look out, I don't want to hurt you." It's terrifying. And while Owen was being worked on, Jerry Lawler was checking in. He would go back and forth from backstage to the commentary, and you could tell this man, like, he was so pale. This is the palest I ever seen Jerry Lawler, and it's sort of like he saw death, and unfortunately he did see death. And what happened was they got Owen on a gurney, they wheeled him to the back, and I remember the Godfather and Jeff Jarrett and other people who seen Owen go backstage into the ambulance, like, his face was blue. So can't even imagine what happened. And they went on with the show, which was not the right move. I mean, it was a crime scene what happened there. I don't even know why they would even think it was a good idea to keep the show going and to allow his peers to work that show while seeing what happened there. And I think it's also terrifying, too, that when Jim Ross got told of the information on his headset, Kevin Dunn was like, "Oh, well, he's dead. And you're back in 10, 9, 8. Like, giving him this amount of time to let them know that Owen Hart had passed. It's just brutal. It really is. And Martha knows, gets notified. She would eventually walk on the catwalk, which was crazy to think about, and see what Owen Hart saw before he died. And eventually, Owen has a funeral. So many people were paying their respects to this man. Like, so many. And apparently, this is crazy too. After the funeral, Martha decides to sue the WWF because there was clearly negligence here, and there was a wrongful death lawsuit. And during the I was watching the documentaries that I've seen, and the common thing too was that Owen was not wearing the proper gear to use for a stunt like this. Apparently, the clip that was used, it was used for sailboats. Like, this clip should not have ever been used for a human to be risen or falling. It was used for a sailboat, and, like, even 8 pounds of pressure being used on it could open it. That clip should have never been used. And it's terrifying too. Martha decides to sue WWE, and WWE actually countersued to try to get the court case to move to Connecticut. Think about that. They countersued the widow of Owen Hart. I mean, for a stunt that should have never, ever happened. And the worst part too, with all of this stuff, was that the Hart family was working against Martha. They were stealing legal documents. They were trying to make sure that Vince won because they wanted to be in the good graces of Vince McMahon. Think about that. Their own family member just died, and they would rather support Vince over the widow. Unbelievable. It's no wonder Bret Hart and Martha Hart don't speak with each other anymore. I mean, the crazy part too, look, this doesn't paint Bret Hart in a good light. And I like Bret Hart, I really do, but I can't forgive you on this one. During the lawsuit, apparently Brett was more focused on obtaining footage, like his films of his matches. He was more focused on getting that instead of getting justice for his brother who died. I mean, it's unbelievable. Really is unbelievable. And eventually Martha and Brett, they would get into huge disagreement, and they've been estranged from each other ever since. And the thing that really gets me too with Owen Hart is like this stunt should have never happened. It was only done with the way it was done just so that they could save 2 seconds, and they used a cheaper crew, a crew that was not experienced. And it's such a shame because if Owen Hart was still alive, he absolutely would have been WWE champion, in my opinion. He had the talent to, and he would have had a career resurgence with WWE. I mean, with all the talent that came in, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle, Jericho was just about to enter the company at the time. Even though Kurt Angle and Owen, they did have a dark match with each other, and I do hope one day, because WWE has their own Vault channel, they've been releasing dark matches. I hope one day they release the match between Kurt Angle and Owen Hart, because I think it was a few weeks ago before this event happened, Kurt Angle and Owen Hart had a match. And that's like one of my dream matches I wish never happened. But it's just a shame what happened with Owen, man. And WWE is absolutely negligent. It's one of the darkest days in professional wrestling history. Not the darkest day, because that's the Benoit situation, because that almost killed the company. But this was absolutely dark there. Many people ask, question, will Owen Hart ever go into the Hall of Fame? In my opinion, he's absolutely a WWE Hall of Famer. But not WWE Hall of Famer, because he will never go into the WWE Hall of Fame. But he's absolutely a Hall of Famer in my book. And he has been in Hall of Fames previously. But Martha will never allow this man to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, because they took him away from her. And you cannot blame her one bit. Not one bit for that reasoning. And even Oj and Athena said in the Dark Side of the Ring documentary, I would never allow WWE to put his name on a piece of silver and say they got that. You cannot blame them whatsoever for it. And it's just this family was robbed, man. They were robbed of an amazing person, amazing father, an amazing husband. And it's devastating to know what happened with Owen Hart. And it gives me the chills to even think about what he was thinking during his final moments and doing the stunt that should never have happened. It's just devastating. But here's something that while doing my research, I found out about the stunt. It could have been so much worse, because the original plan was to lower Owen from the ceiling with Max Mini attached to him. Max Mini was a mini luchador who was signed to WWE. He was getting a bit of a push at that time, and they wanted Max Mini to be strapped to Owen on that night in that show. And before the actual fall happened and the event happened, they actually had Owen test the stunt with a sandbag. I think it was either attached behind his back or by his belly. I'm not 100% sure, but there could have been 2 deaths. You know what? 3 deaths. There could have been 3 deaths, because Jimmy Corderas was standing in the middle of the ring. If Owen fell just a few inches or feet, he would have landed right on top of Jimmy Corderas, and he could have possibly died from it. But it's just absolutely devastating. And Owen will go down to me as one of the greatest what ifs, in my opinion. Like, what if he never died? What if he was still around? Would he even still be in the wrestling business? I mean, maybe if his contract expired with WWE, he would have never came back to wrestle again. What if maybe he could have had a WWE run? I mean, we'll never know for certain, and it's just absolutely devastating. And it angers me that WWE would put Owen in that situation. It really, really does. And it just sucks. This Owen should still be on this earth today. And I feel sick knowing that WWE failed him. And I just want to say another thing before, and I promise I'll finish this video up in a bit. Every time I speak or write about Owen Hart, I've decided to talk a little bit about his foundation because Martha's been when the she got her settlement in the lawsuit, she used the money to start the Owen Hart Foundation. If you don't know, Owen Hart is found the foundation. It's used to help families in the Calgary region that are struggling, and it's a really great foundation. And if you have not donated to them, please do, because it's a really good charity, and they're doing a lot of good there. Martha's an absolute saint. She really is, and I know she will never watch this. I know Oj and Athena will probably never watch this. Uh, Owen is smiling down, and he is happy with what you guys are doing. You guys are amazing with what you're doing with the Owen Hart Foundation and how you've lived your life and how successful you guys have been, and not giving up and all this. You guys are amazing. And if you are listening to this, I just want to say you you guys are it's unbelievable what you've gone through, but you've persevered, and I respect each and every one of you. I really do. Uh, it's a shame that you were robbed of this, robbed of Owen. He was a good man, and he had great kids. And Martha is a good person. I respect her so much, and I'm glad with what she's doing with the Owen Hart Foundation, and I'm glad that she's working with AEW as well to make sure Owen is a notable name and is still being said in professional wrestling, but not with WWE profiting off of it. And it's devastating. Owen, rest in peace, dude. I really wish you were on this earth, and it's just devastating with Owen. So that's my video on Owen Hart. I just wanted to make a quick 27, 28-minute video on Owen Hart. I just want to say, if you guys are a fan of professional wrestling content, the Ringside Ram podcast normally goes live at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on Thursdays. We're also live for Monday Night Raw live streams. We are also going to be live for Saturday night's main event this week. I hope you guys enjoy. But I want to ask you guys this question. What are your memories of Owen Hart? What do you like about the guy? What's your favorite story about Owen Hart? What do you think about the whole fall, the whole tragedy? I would love to know. After all, if you have a fact about Owen Hart that I didn't mention on this video, I would love to learn. I would love to grow. And I think it's best we have civil conversations with Owen Hart. So, yeah, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. Appreciate you. Owen, we miss you. Rest in peace, man. It's amazing that we're still talking. It's 26 years and we're still talking about him to this very day. We love you, Owen. Rest in peace. And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you. Acknowledge us.